You know what? I just realized the stream may not be getting audio. I'm glad that I just caught that. Let's see, sorry. Black hole plus headphones. Chat was probably just bringing that up as well. All right, say something and I'll just confirm.
Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, okay. So they should be hearing you now.
Okay.
So much going on, technically.
Yeah.
Okay, so we were just talking about, like, I'm about to pull up some sheet music with a bunch of really hyper detailed notation and questions that I had for Chris, and I just asked if Chris has ever done acupuncture, and that's because I'm trying to avoid my photos library, which has some gory pictures right now. But yeah, so the old man, you said.
So Dick did to help deal with his focal dystonia, and it did help him quite a bit. The violinist that I'd worked with, I believe, had done that for tendonitis, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if it was a regular occurrence. But I've also known a few different musicians who certainly have done it and felt the benefits of it. I myself have not.
Yeah. Well, we just realized that our insurance covers it, or at least a certain number of sessions. And I was like, I'm just going to try it.
Go for it.
I've been passionate about meditation and other practices, and I know that there is a lot of scientific studies that show that acupuncture is more effective than placebo, etc. But yeah, like I have some bruises and other things, and I'm avoiding those photos. Recommend it. It feels really great so far. So I'm trying to get the camera up so that stream can see these questions. So do you want today to work on the Brouwer?
Well, let's start on this, and then we'll do some reading and scale work in a new piece.
Okay, cool. Sounds great. Okay, so I am going to try to air server this over for stream so that they can see what's going on.
Let me tune up I got new tuners put on yesterday.
This is like literally years of figuring out all sorts of cool tips and tricks in terms of streamer things. So, okay, so you should have this up as well, and I asked a bunch of questions, and I think I just listed the questions in order of measures. So I would say that, can you say something, Chris? I'm not sure if I just lost you.
Yeah, no, I'm muting so I can tune while you talk.
Oh, okay, got it. I would say that my biggest question is in measure 4. Like, I think that the biggest change in my fingerings that I've done is here, where Brouwer has 3-1, like a 3-1 slur, and I'm finding that doing a cross string kind of simulated slur feels really good to me. But I like cross strings, I guess, a lot.
You know, I've been in recovery for almost 14 years, and I can tell you there's a ton of things that used to feel good to me that I don't do anymore.
Okay. But no, it's not that it physically feels good. It's for a musical reason. For a musical reason, I think that it keeps the line of this G on that first beat, and I could play it, but there's like a lot of changes that I'm making.
Yeah, so, don't.
Okay.
don't.
Okay.
So the first thing is, you've seen Top Gun?
No.
Okay, you should watch Top Gun. I haven't seen the new one, but the old one is classic, and there are some incredible one-liners in there.
Okay,
so when Maverick and Goose get in trouble in the beginning because they buzz the tower, I can't remember if it's a captain or an admiral, whoever, I think it's the captain of the boat, was like, son, you're writing checks your body can't cash. And I thought that was a great line, and I've used that more times than I can think of.
Okay.
I'm not saying don't change anything ever. But there is something very fundamental that you are starting to change without having to identify what it is. Based on either sometimes comfort we can do, man, and it just feels better. Right.
Yeah.
There are a lot of things, but what is it that we're losing?
Yeah.
What is he trying to get us to do?
Exactly. That's my question here.
If it's a wrong finger, like I saw with another student the other day, there was like they got the 2-3 back mixed up in a bar chord, so it looked like it was supposed to be like this. It was clearly F sharp dominant 7. It's not this. Things like that. Yeah, change. If there are errors, certainly change them.
Right.
But before you change a fingering, okay. And there's personal. I got skin in this game, and the reason being is when I was younger and I started taking lessons in college, I didn't even look at fingerings.
Okay. Oh, interesting. Yeah. At all.
So, well, I just did whatever my hand thought was comfortable.
Right. And that can be a major mistake.
I also thought sitting like this was comfortable.
Yeah. Right. Of course.
Because I was on the corner of my bed as a 15-year-old teaching myself how to play. So we have to really be very cautious when we talk about convenience, comfort, and feelings. So first thing, anytime I'm looking at something new, unless there's an error, I'm going to learn those fingerings to the best of my ability until there is something I cannot do or something that I have been struggling with for an inordinate amount of time. And then you do what you're doing right now, saying, I'm going to bring that to my teacher because there must be something I'm missing or there's something that's wrong or something. So in this particular spot, and I'm sorry, I just got new tuners put on yesterday, so my strings are still... We're trying a lighter pair.
I have not spent that much time on this yet.
Good.
But
I mean, this is an area where that's good. So when you're coming down, and this is measure 4?
Yes.
So part of the study is in this A section about slurs and also the B section. So we've got arpeggios, we've got slurs. And so when you take this out... and you're turning it into that, what you've done is you've changed an arpeggio harmonic texture.
Okay.
And you're using that instead of a linear melodic texture. So this is the melody that you're now creating into a harmonic texture, which is more of an accompanimental figure. So it confuses the ear between this, which is accompanimental, and this, and there's your line. So if you turn it into this, it sounds more like this. When what he's looking is to create a more linear melodic rather than So a lot of these figures we can do cross string, but he's particularly chosen those slurs as a contrast, and if we remove that, we're now starting to take away some of the musical content from what the composer intended. Now, does that mean that if you're playing a Bach piece and you choose to do something cross-string rather than a slur, it might work. If you choose to do a slur when none is written, absolutely, that could work. And I encourage it within the bounds of taste for whatever that is. So, and that sounded awful. What I mean is everybody's going to have their own taste.
Right.
So maybe they don't want to slur on the downbeat. Maybe they want to slur at the change of direction. There are going to be slight differences and things like that. But here, we got this arpeggio texture. And we start to lose a little bit of that pentatonic nature that actually is a very signature thing of Brouwer.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
So there's your first question. And go ahead and lay them all out on me.
Okay. All right. I'll work on that then.
We'll hit it today.
Yeah. There are other things, I guess. Then. So that's the one where I felt most uneasy about it. Like anytime I'm changing like a pretty fundamental thing in an etude, I'm like, am I missing something that this etude is teaching. But
Yeah.
then when, like, with these etudes that I'm revisiting years after learning them the first time, and like when you're revisiting some, like, quote unquote easier didactic pieces, I've wondered at times, like, are they avoiding this other fingering because it's harder and they want, like, to teach, like, a slur like this? Like, is it didactic, I guess? And I wasn't thinking specifically about that, but somewhere else, I think, like, okay, yeah, specifically repeating the A finger, I think, in the third measure. So we can get to the notation and your question about, like, this math hieroglyphic notation that I have. Like, I feel that repeating I in one spot, that there's an argument to be made for repeating I in one place and repeating A in another place. That maybe you don't want to teach a beginner, like maybe the first time that you're going through the Brouwer etudes, if that makes sense. Whereas,
so I'm looking at measure 3, and I see PIM, PIM, I slide A, MI.
Yeah.
And what are you suggesting?
So, yeah, I see. So the left hand is, I'm not changing that at all. I have it up on the screen now. And in the text, I have two alternatives. The bottom one, this is just a clarification of using A or IAM, but my notation is that the number writes, like, what right arm position you're in. So do you shift before the, let's see, before or after the A? Like, so that one, I can't show both on screen at the same time.
It's okay.
You can probably, like, you should be able to see my Zoom. So, like,
I see you, and I've got the score pulled up.
yeah, like, I, A, like, I like to shift, so that's why I have it in the primary at the moment, and then these top two as, like, alternates. I, right now, like to shift, like, I play I on the first string, I shift down during that slide, and then do AMI. So just thinking, like, open strings, like I, AMI. But, I mean, I could see somebody also do I, AMI. So shift after the A.
Okay.
So that's just, like, I don't know. I think that's personal preference somewhat. And
it can be.
Yeah.
But if we're following, let me see if I got this set up. Drop the camera down a little bit. All right. So as we're doing this, and we have, right? So right there is going to be an arm shift to the fourth string, so that we've got PIM set up. Right?
Yes. I have on mute.
Then it's going to come down again.
Yes.
Now at this point, not much of an arm shift is necessary if your I finger is in position. From here, right?
Yes.
Because you're already here, it's not going to be necessarily another arm adjustment from PIM.
Okay,
right?
it's not.
It doesn't have to be, because you've got PIM and IM are right there on adjacent strings.
Well, but when you play the G, I mean, it's on the first string, so.
Yep. But another arm adjustment isn't necessary, only because your I finger is right there, even though it's lined up over two.
Okay.
The arm adjustment you would need is at the A finger. So you don't need another additional one here. Right? So try doing this. Just take PIM, IM on the first string.
Okay. Like, I feel,
If you bumped into that string, then you need to bring the arm forward a little bit, but you don't really need to.
Okay.
You know? Because the I finger isn't really that far out of position. It's not like if we were doing this. Now it is. right? Now I'm reaching, and fundamentally the shape of that finger is no longer a free stroke.
Yeah.
Right? So in this particular case, only if you bump into that string, excuse me, do you need to really make another adjustment. If you felt like you needed to, you can. But I don't think with the length of your fingers that really one is going to be super necessary for that moment.
Okay. All right, then.
But here,
yeah, then that's a challenge then, because like, yeah, all of these like numbers and like writing in like these positions is built on that idea that the finger shouldn't change the curvature. Like I should just move the arm. Like if I want to play an open B with the index finger as opposed to an open E.
Right.
Right.
Well, there are going to be times,
here,
for instance, when you have to do things like this, right, where it's not going to fit that model.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So in this particular case,
okay.
I don't necessarily feel an arm adjustment is necessary there. Like
Okay.
I'm saying, if you did,
Okay.
then make one. You know, if you feel like that you have to come forward, then after you pluck M, then I should be over that string in either your thumb here or at or around the second string, if you feel that you need to make an adjustment there.
Okay.
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 Now,
Okay.
here,
Yeah, it's like so subtle. It's not really necessary. It's like at a very slow tempo. I'm thinking
If
like,
you did
what's
this,
the ideal tone. Yeah. Yes.
then yeah, you do.
Right. Okay.
You know,
Okay.
because you got two choices there. Let's say that that's your issue, and I keep bumping into that B string. Then I do need to move my arm forward because the alternative is changing the trajectory of the finger from this to this.
Okay.
Right? I have to get an upward motion with the finger, which is going to get a crappy sound, and also ask the finger to play the stroke different.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So if you bumped into that second string, I'd say, yeah, move your arm forward. You know, but it's like,
Okay. But don't.
since it's not a problem for you, I wouldn't do anything about it.
Okay.
You know, however,
Yeah.
the next note, you're absolutely right, because it's setting up an AMI arpeggio, right?
Right. Yeah,
Here.
that one you definitely want I to be ready for the third string.
Right.
Because
So
it's like
once you're
here.
done with that G,
Yeah.
as I prepare A, my hand and arm are in alignment here. So as soon as I'm getting to that A,
Yeah.
now when I prepare A, my arm has slid back, so the AMI is set up.
Okay.
So there you're absolutely right, right?
Yeah, then that alleviates the concern I think that I was trying to fix, which was like there's a lot of arm shifting in a small
Yeah,
period
that
of
takes
time.
one out.
Yeah, if you're going up
Right.
and then back down too. So yeah, if you don't shift up. So then in my notation, I would just not write that I1, and that would imply like yes, like reach, you know, with I to the first string.
I remember your
okay.
notation. I can't see it, but I remember the notations that you were using vaguely, at least, for
Sure.
a right arm position shift.
Yeah.
So there, I think you're right on board. So we've got this on fourth string. Arm comes forward as you prepare the thumb. Now it can stay for the I finger, but now it has to come back
Yes.
so that your fingers are lined up PIMA on 4-3-2-1 shape.
Yeah. Okay.
And then you would bring it back again for here.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. All right. Well, just for the sake of maybe another musical piece, then, or just to eliminate this this idea of a repeated A, how would you feel of substituting A for like the right hand A for that G, like?
And do AA or A?
I think so. Yeah, AA.
I wouldn't, because it's going to move pretty quick.
I guess that was partly my thought, was that then you have a PIMA arpeggio to begin with, at least, but then repeating A is tough.
You brought an interesting point, okay, because what you have is, if we're looking at those, essentially the and of two, right? you'd have P-I-M instead of I, you'd have A. So you'd have P-I-M-A.
Right.
So on the front half, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Then we don't want to lose the AMI at the end, right? So we'd have that. Let me see. P-I-M. But now you've got to do 2 quick A's in succession.
Yeah.
The only time I'll repeat a finger like that, unless I'm doing like a melodic arpeggio, if I was doing like that kind of thing, obviously we're repeating fingers on the top, but they're not happening consecutively.
Okay.
Right? It's not one then immediately after. So the only time that generally I'll use a double a finger in a row is at a phrase ending.
Okay.
Because when I breathe, that finger has a chance to reset.
Yeah.
I did that in the Aranjuez quite a bit. Where I would end a scale with I, take a breath, start with I. Because there's a space between them. That space isn't big enough.
Okay. Not even with
you know
the
what
slide.
I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, the slide, because if we're going...
It is a 16th note.
Yeah, I mean, we're going 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a... Right?
Yeah. I was thinking it could be like a good like application or practicing like a repeated A, but no.
Not there.
Don't do it there. Okay.
I don't think so. I think that would create more problems than solve. And that's the interesting thing that you're at, is that, hey, like, for instance, if I move that A finger over, I get a P-I-M-A arpeggio, which is cool. It's better than P-I-M-I.
Right.
But we've traded one problem for kind of a bigger one.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Okay. All right, so I'm putting
So
it
in that
back
particular
up.
spot, I wouldn't.
Okay.
You know, but I like the way you're looking, because the P-I-M-A approach, that's the kind of thing that in another piece, in another situation, might save you.
Right.
So that's why I'm not saying, dude, you're wrong. It's not about right and wrong. It's like that could work in a lot of scenarios. That one, not in particular, because you're asking a lot of that A finger.
Yeah, and there is also the preliminary discussion that we had that the shift forward is not really necessary. So I'm going to write this in, which they can see but you can't, that this is another option. Wait. Would you right shift the arm to third position after the A? Like...
No.
Okay.
During the slide. And I think
during
that
the
you would...
slide. Okay, great. So then I'm
because I want to make sure that when I prepare that finger, that I'm in position.
Yeah. Alright, so then that's I-A3-M then, without, like, I-1.
So as soon as I'm... did the slide, and then when I go to prepare the A finger, I go ahead and pull my arm back.
Okay. That makes sense. Yeah, that's
so that it's one nice fluid motion when you execute it.
Right. So that makes sense. That's what I would have guessed too. But yeah, like
sometimes people can do it after. Like they'll play the note and they'll do it this way.
Right.
And you certainly can in this particular scenario. If you wanted to go I, A, and then adjust for M, you could do that too.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I'll just say, like, that's where I think that this notation really shines, because it is a succinct way to capture all of these different options.
And when.
Yeah. Like, putting it up on screen again, there is literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different right-hand fingerings here, and 4 of them are all I-A-M. But they're all just different places of where you shift the right arms.
So that particular spot, cool. I would say, for me, I shift as I'm for the A, rather than play the A, and then shift. But either one in that particular case, they're both equal. I don't think that there's an advantage to one or the other.
Sure.
Which one you feel more comfortable with?
Right. Okay.
You know. Now, if you were And this is why when we're doing things like this, these aren't things that you do in the fundamental stages of learning.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if somebody was, just flat out doing something like this and they were in volume 1 of a method book, I would not say, hey, you can do this or that. It's just do this.
Yeah.
Right? As long as the payout is the same on both sides, it's like pick one and then stay with it. So because of the AMI relationship, I would say make the adjustment right for the A finger so that you can see the AMI arpeggio and not have to make an additional coordination.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's all. But for you in this case, it's like, yeah, man, do either one because you're still playing the right note with the right finger at the right time. Okay. Which one feels better for you?
Okay.
You know?
Cool.
And then you have to bring it down to the 5th string for this.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I have more questions. Like,
Keep going.
I think I listed 5.
Yep. I think that took care of number 2, right?
Yeah. I don't have the list right now, but in measure 2, beat 4 on the and of 4, there's not a left-hand fingering that's written into that. And I was seeing 2 options. One, like, I think that the implied fingering is 2-0.
It is.
Yeah. I saw another option that I feel fits the slides of other places a little bit better. Like, it creates a slur, but at least this time it's still in a melodic line, so it still sort of makes sense. But it would be 2 coming up, and then... I'm out of context, and I'm not familiar with this piece of stuff.
I think I know where you're going with that.
Yeah, so you change that 2-3 to 1-2, and then come down.
It overcomplicates measure 3 when to do that, I think.
Okay.
If you were to do anything there other than 2 open, if you did 1/4 slur, you could, but it starts to take away a little bit in that, I think, in that regard. So let's say, for instance, you were like, wow, we got a slur here, we got a slur here, we got another slur here, right on the andas, and you wanted to keep that consistent. To do that, I have to let go of that F sharp prematurely, so I lose the texture that he created.
True. Okay, yeah.
And then it overcomplicates this.
That makes sense.
Right? So again, this is a good example of where there's a creative engine at work in terms of it, but do we then end up making things more complex, not complicated, but more complex than they need to be?
Yeah.
In that particular case, and I don't want to come across as like a fingering purist, because I change a ton of stuff. But because I used to change everything, because I didn't look at what was actually there, I take a pretty hard edge when I'm learning a piece.
Yeah.
To go with, in a case like that where it's not written down, that probably the more obvious thing is I'm here and it fits within that. I'm gonna go with that until there's something better that comes along.
Because if you have the technical chops in measure 3, then doing the slide then later matches better the melodic line that you pointed out in measure 4, in the and of 4.
That's where you start getting into the artistic realm, and that's okay. Right? But again, I come back to writing checks your body can't cash. How much time would that take, and is it worth it for that 1 20-millisecond moment in the piece? Or I'm just pulling something out of a bag with that. It's not 20 milliseconds. But
Yeah.
Is it worth that amount of work? And if I wanted to create a comparison, ornamentation in the Baroque would be another good example. You could spend years getting your cross-string trills smoking good.
Uh-huh.
But if we can't do it in the piece, or it makes the piece harder.
Yeah.
And I mean harder here's a good example. When we ornament something, it ends up sometimes covering up some of the other fundamental problems. Like maybe I'm not playing the bass line in that piece very clearly, but if I have an ornament here, you're not thinking about it that way. It just sounds cool, and it's fun, and it's creative, and it's artistic. And those are all good things. Mm-hmm. But combined, it could be we make that spot now way harder than it needed to be, but we're not really getting the payoff in return.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, and that's why I'm asking about it, because I basically put in an hour just reading it, essentially.
Right.
I haven't
so
drilled,
let's say that... So immediately I lose that F sharp.
I see it now, yeah.
Now, let's say I did a 2 slide.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Right? I would have to refinger that.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Okay, so now I've refingered this. Now I've refingered this. Now I have to refinger that.
I think you only need to refinger B1 on 3, but...
No, I'm going to have to move from here. And then if I do this, after this, I'm having that first finger jumping back and forth. And instead of this, I have to let go of one of the lower notes and I lose some of that harmonic support. Instead of where you can hear all of it kind of come together into that chord.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So I guess my point in all of that is if that was I'm dead set on that and I don't have to sacrifice anything else and you feel that's worth your time, you can. But if at any point this has caused me to sacrifice any of the other things, then in my mind, for me, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
Because I'm looking at what the overall musical point of this is.
Right. Yeah.
It's a little bit of 6. Right, where we've got that nice, texture.
Yeah.
And here, if I sacrifice it, well, I just did it, but you could hear how there are certain notes now that start getting cut off and the resonance suffers.
Yeah.
So for me, if I could do that and keep the resonance, okay, I'd have to do something like this. I'd have to use a 4.
Okay.
So I could do a 2/4 slur.
And then that's getting really super complicated, yeah.
And that's where we end up, right. So
yeah.
Now here's the thing though, and I want to make sure that this part gets driven home because I think this is where there can be room for a misinference. What someone might infer by what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Those are all great ideas. And you should still look for all of those things as in any piece after I've done the fingering that's there. Ooh, well, what if I did this? What if I did that? You need that kind of curiosity. I love it. It just doesn't work there.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is that a lot of times when I say, hey man, look at what we're giving up. Look at what we're giving up. It's, oh my God, it's awful. That kind of thing. It's easy for someone to hear that and go, I shouldn't do that. Or, I shouldn't
only use the printed fingerings.
Right, and I don't want that message to be the one that's communicated. But if, for instance, let's say that you have a piece and you have a bar that has 5 strings, something like that, and you just can't do for whatever reason, you can't get that bar with that position. Bar all 6. Right? I mean, that's kind of a solution to those things. Maybe do I have to come up with something else? Do it up here. Right? Occasionally, we can do things like that. And I love the curiosity part. And that curiosity part to me is vital. Not just in fingerings, though, also in terms of expression. There's a musical curiosity that has to be there. But it has to be controlled.
Right.
Because otherwise, you end up being a completely experiential learner, and it's like, hey, I wonder what happens when I stick this in that light socket. Right? I wonder what that feels like. And that's where we have to be careful. So that's my point, is not that, wow, you've got some harebrained ideas. It's not that. These are cool ideas. But in that particular spot, we end up making a little bit, it's now become more difficult to do, the arpeggios, and we're losing some of the arpeggios because this is a PIM. So we just sacrificed one of the PIM arpeggios,
Yeah.
PIM.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking at the top, and it says for slurs and fixed positions.
Yeah. So and then I think that this really came up with Carcassi 14, where we talked about refingering things and adding slurs or taking out the A finger, and it's like, well, there's ways to play some of these pieces of music as an etude and for the purpose of slurs and fixed positions. And I would love to see the Brouwer etudes with alternative fingerings for different audiences and for different purposes, because maybe there are some concessions that have been made for more pedagogical reasons. I feel on some of these pieces, I don't know about this, but
if it weren't a guitarist, I would say that there's a larger variety because inherently we've made an arrangement of something.
Okay.
And so once we've done that, we have changed it.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, when we put any Albanis or Granados, anytime we put that on the guitar, inherently we have changed something. Even if it's a note in its octave position, much less Bach.
Yeah.
We are changing what they wrote and where they put those notes. And sometimes we're doing it rather drastically.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound that way when we play it on guitar,
But, so are you saying don't change fingerings? Because then...
I'm saying that anytime we change one, we have to look at what the cost is. What are we giving up?
Right. Yeah. And that's why I would, I'm saying, I would love to see, the set of, Christopher Ladd approved fingerings, fingering substitutions,
You'll find that in most cases, in the Brouwer studies, I don't think I changed hardly anything.
Cool. That's good.
To my recollection.
Yeah. That's good for me to know, reading a new piece, not to spend time.
I'll tell you some things I did change. And he lists options, like in number 10, right?
Right.
This. There are plenty of times when I was just working just on alternation. I took all the slurs out.
Right. Me too.
Sounds awful.
Yeah.
Sounds like typewriter music. Right?
Yeah.
Because the slurs are expressive. And they are expressive devices. So in that case, I take them out just for the pure purpose of I'm just working on alternation.
Yeah.
Anytime you have a Giuliani study that does that, if it does right, where you're only plucking the first note.
Yeah.
Plenty of times I've just done that as a scale study. Also, plenty of times in Bach, for instance, if we have That where I add slurs.
One thing, can you turn down your volume just a little bit?
Sure.
Because it's often,
Is it clipping?
It is clipping a bit, yeah. Okay, those, yeah, I think that answers like my biggest questions on this one, and yeah, like I've only really worked on that beginning. It sounds pretty good, I think.
Good. Okay.
Yeah. Chat audience, let me know if how the volume sounds.
Yeah, I don't want to sound bad.
You still sound good, I think.
So
it's the relative difference between us.
Oh, yeah.
That I'm trying to figure out. Yeah.
So your next one.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that I don't know if I wrote this next one, but this is the first new piece that I'm adding in a while. Like I haven't been learning that much music in a while. And this is the first one, I think, where I have all these new notation tools at my disposal, and I'm the first time around thinking about damping and the thumb. Mm-hmm. I guess I wanted like a review, maybe if I played through it, like am I missing any damping? Like, that's, I think, the main thing.
Yeah, and just go as far as you're comfortable going, because it is new.
Okay, cool. And it's going to be fairly slow. But
please.
Yeah.
Slow is great.
Yeah. I was used to the slur. Yeah, so this is so new. And like there's a couple changes. Can I do it again?
Not bad. That's okay. And I mean, I can see that you practiced your ideas because they're kind of hardwired in there. Like that one.
Yeah, there are some like very a couple of them I've done a little bit more than others. Like
so, I'm glad that you're getting it at this stage so that you don't bake them in anymore.
That's
those
why I
spots.
Really wanted to ask about it. Yeah.
Now, what's interesting in this one is if you're sequentially preparing your fingers, like one ahead of the other, a lot of the dampening occurs naturally. Yeah. And you'll see that Brouwer used a slur ligature on the low E.
Yes.
That doesn't go to anything. So he's just saying let it ring.
Right. I assume that. Yeah. Yeah. And in the image that I texted you with my fingerings, X's, and I'll show this to chat as well because I'm speaking my fancy notational tools. X's are... I don't really remember if we've talked about this, Chris.
Is this where you're going to damp?
It's when the thumb plants on specific strings. So sure. X in that first measure, like the possible spots are in like D or E, and then like it's pretty ambiguous, but like roughly I remember that's the fifth string A. This one is a 4. This one's an fourth string, fifth string.
I've seen people use the actual like D, A, E ledger lines and put an X on it in parentheses. I've seen it done a lot of different ways. Whatever works for you, I think, is fine.
Yeah.
In this particular case, if we're working in a sequential manner and we're not doing any kind of partial or full planting, then you'll always be putting... So as soon as I play that M, then my thumb will prepare on 4.
And that's exactly what I wrote. Cool. Mm-hmm. And then after I plays, the thumb comes down on D
and
again.
Yeah, so what we get is...
Absolutely.
Now, one of the interesting questions you could ask is, with measure 2, the DE at the end, you could use MA to play it.
So I have that written in. Yes. I do have that.
You could use IM or MA.
Yeah, because he doesn't notate that one.
Right, so that one, you certainly, that would be one of those where, hey man, you've got, now, if it were a student in the fundamental stages, I wouldn't be doing that. But in this particular case, it all lines up to go I, P, M, A, 4, I, P, I, M, P. That's
Right.
one of those right-hand fingering changes where, honest to God, I don't care.
Yeah.
Because it really is going to work out relatively the same for you either way.
Right.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So the damping sounds fine. In this particular one, we actually don't want to damp too much because we lose that, what Andrew York likes to call crystalline structures.
Yeah, we do want that resonance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a lot of cases, the only place we want to make sure that certain things stop, right here as I go into measure 4, the and, I want to make sure that that fifth string we're going to be playing, so we're going to damp that there. But I want to make sure that the E string stops as I prepare my thumb on the fifth string for that F sharp. I just want to make sure I'm stopping the E because I've probably engaged it sympathetically through all of this. Yeah, I can hear it ringing right now, so I have to make sure I stop that on the F sharp.
What, on the F sharp?
In the next measure.
In the next measure, okay.
Yep. Right there. So as you play that F sharp, just make sure that the side of your thumb touches that 6th string. That's it.
Yeah, I would just anchor to
You can do that.
Bring it down and then bring it up.
You can do it direct or indirect.
Okay. Yeah.
I think in that spot I do indirect. And I stop it when I play the F sharp rather than go back. Either or.
Yeah.
Either one works fine.
Okay.
But that's a spot where you want to make sure that it stops so we don't get a lot of mud in the bass. And as soon as we play this E, we've engaged that 6th string again. So when I play the D, now I've got this clash in the bass.
Yeah.
So I've got to damp the F sharp, got to stop the 6th string, play the E. Now I have to stop it as or after I play that D.
Yeah, okay. Stop the... Yeah. I always... Thumb goes down to 6th string.
That's fine.
On all of these, I think.
That's fine.
So that would handle it. Then, question was, there's a 3 printed on that E in the and of 2. Is there a strong technical reason for that as opposed to 1? I find it...
He's just doing the shift there. You have to shift down to the 5th position. He's doing it here.
I prefer to shift with 1 as opposed to 3, I suppose. Is there a reason to,
Yeah, his reason is just that's where he's shifting. That's all. Yeah. I don't think...
It's kind of like that.
Yeah, there's no real difference for me. I don't see an issue there.
Yeah.
Versus...
Yeah.
I can't think of one potentiality. Is that you might have a tendency to make more string noise with a first finger shift rather than a third.
Yeah, I chose for the other reason. I'm finding 1 gives me less string noise than 3, but okay.
Again, in that spot, changing that does little to nothing.
All right, I got one approved change. I'm going to commit it to the...
Oh, yeah, dude. I mean...
I'm going to commit it to the Chris Ladd repository.
I saw this meme the other day. It said... It's not imposter syndrome. You actually suck at everything. And I took a picture of it because I thought that was so funny. It's like, because I'm open. I get, dude. I have so many bad ideas. I do.
Yeah.
But those bad ideas are like here. They stay here. They try not to make it to the stage. It's like all the wrong notes I play, and I play a bunch, are here.
Yeah.
And not during a Zoom concert or anything. It's like I make plenty of mistakes, but I try to get those things like what we're doing right now. I do that too. I've just spent long enough making more work for myself early on, to know that I'm going to go ahead and play it for the most part as the composer intended until.
Yeah.
And then the until ... I make tons of changes. But in something like Brouwer, Dion's, Houghton, Wallace.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot fewer because they were all good players. Andrew York, I mean, very rarely do I change any of Andy's fingerings because they're great players, and the notation is way better than it was with Giuliani, Sohr, Carcassi. They were great players too.
Yeah.
But the notation is far more sparse.
Yeah.
Right? So we get a little bit more room for error. And I think that to me is where, I make changes.
Yeah.
I just end up making fewer of them because, all four of those guys, Koshkin would be another one. They're all great players who play their own music, and they play their own music really well. So if I make a change, I just need to have a reason.
Yeah.
And I got the reason. Now, does the change promote my musical idea without sacrificing any of the other fundamental issues that are in the fundamental things in the piece? And that's an important lesson to learn. If you're doing a Segovia edition of Ponce or Tedesco or Torina, changing fingerings might not be a great idea. Just do another. Gilia would be like, hey, look, if you change enough fingerings, it's no longer that dude's edition.
And sometimes it's okay to make your own edition.
Absolutely. But that's the thing.
Recognize that that's what you're doing.
Right. And so that then becomes the responsibility that you've taken on.
Right.
Because if fingerings are a direct route to interpretation, and interpretation then is a direct route to your expression.
Right.
Yeah, dude, this versus
zero difference musically.
No, So
right.
Go ahead. World's your oyster.
Yeah.
Now we didn't do any of the sight reading today, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Because I felt like this was more important to stay on. One, because you're doing really well. Did you go on to the next measures at all?
No.
Or is it just those first?
I had so many questions in those.
Good.
That I didn't want to add anymore. Yeah.
Let me give you a little preview of measures 6 and 7.
Okay.
So as you're going in 6, right here's 5. It's the same as 1.
Yeah. Yeah, those
Here's
are just
6.
repeating for a little bit. And I briefly worked on that next one. Yeah.
Now, this is where he has no fingerings.
Yes.
I do 1 slur to 4, 3 open, because it sets me up for the next measure.
Yeah.
So 1, 4, 3 open.
Okay.
So my third finger now can just stay down for this.
Yeah.
I, A, M.
Yeah.
I slide. M.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's what I did. Because I did touch these parts, but didn't drill them. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
And I do the I finger at the end right before I don't use the thumb. He has the thumb as a possibility. I use I. And then all of these are just, I think, should be right.
Yeah.
Now, what's interesting is I think this is probably editorial, but third line, last measure, D flat C B.
Yes.
I do a slur from the D flat to the C.
I mean, that's written in, right?
It is in the next measure. It's not there.
Third line, last measure, or
Yep. He's got pluck, pluck, pluck. I think there's a missing slur there.
I have this edition, and it has it. I think.
Oh, does it? Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, my older one doesn't. It's got just
So
pluck,
you're right.
pluck, pluck.
Cool. Yeah.
If it's there, it's so... Yeah, it's not there.
I have
It's just not there.
Yeah.
As you go on into the B section, try to layer your fingers so you're putting them down at the last possible second.
Right.
Hold, let go, let go.
Mm-hmm.
So that that's, again, the legatos as slurs, but also a legato arpeggio texture.
Yeah. Okay.
So you're putting fingers down at the last possible moment.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Right. I'm sorry, I'm so out of tune. These new tuners are awesome, but the strings still are freaking out.
Well, cool. We are at time, so...
Good, man. So what we'll do at your next lesson then is go ahead and do the sight reading with the scales. And it's just going to be like Guardame las Vacas or another piece like either Milan or Narvaez. And the fingerings will be pretty straight ahead, right? But it'll be an opportunity for you to practice some of these principles in what you're doing when you're doing it. And new scale material so that you can start applying all of those new things. Have fun with 11. I mean, we can certainly keep going with the rest of the 20, but 11 is monster. It's awesome.
Cool. It's like a couple of weeks because holidays next week. Would there be
did we
another...
agree when we're going to get... Did we say it was January, like the week of the 2nd or something, when we talked the other day?
I think so. Yeah, it's on the calendar.
Okay, good.
I believe so.
Monday the 30th.
Yes, that's
cool.
right. All right, so
good.
Monday
I'll still
the 30th.
Be in Virginia, but...
Yeah, Monday the 30th, 10 a.m. Do you want to stream it like this?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, cool. Let's do it.
Yeah, I'm going to be at my parents' house, so I got to make sure that it's not like in their, in the little closet that I got to teach in when I'm there.
Sure.
So when I get there, I'll start trying to make it look all nice.
Okay. Well, just let me know. Yeah, just let me know if you want to do it privately instead. But
no. It should be fine.
I'll announce it then. But
it should be fine.
In the meantime, if I finish 11 or get through it, what would be the next Brouwer Etude, do you think? Like to or something else,
point,
maybe like Soar or something?
Well, I would go to Soar after the first 10, but at the same time, I just... let me pull this back up. Because at this point, after the first 10, you can almost go in order pedagogically. The first 10 we do in a certain order, just from kind of most basic to most demanding. You can certainly go right to 12, or you can go to, if you want to stay with the idea of slurs in fixed positions, go to 13.
I feel my slurs are good. Like, I just want to do scales as much as I can.
I know you do, I know. But this...
Right.
So it stays with the same idea of like, when we're doing that kind of thing.
Yeah. Just so you know,
13 would be the one that I would do next.
Okay.
But 12's fine too.
Sounds good. Just so you know, I have done 16 and 20 in the past.
Okay, good.
But then none of the others in that set.
Good.
So
then we're going to get on to Soar, because Soar 9, Soar 10,
those
are some of my favorite studies, period.
Cool.
I'm
excited. I literally have never learned any Soar. Yeah, I haven't played.
Well, we'll start with 1.
Okay.
They don't go in order, but 1 for you would be fine. 9 is also great.
What is this, like Segovia numbering? Do they match or Segovia?
No, the original opus and numbers are different than the Segovia 20.
Right. Okay, but Segovia 1.
Yep, Segovia Soar number 1.
Yeah. Right.
Number 9 is a damping. It's like a playground. Cool. It's awesome.
Great.
And it just sounds fun when you get it up to speed,
Awesome. I'm looking
all right, man, listen, have a great Christmas. I mean, we're going to talk. I'll send you a text if I can get that other thing rolling on the side of getting together. But otherwise, I'll see you on the 30th at 10.
Sounds great. See you on the 30th. All right.
All right,
thanks,
bye,
Chris.
everybody.
Oh, and John Cesar says hi, by the way.
Hi, John.
Play the piece Ponticello and tell him think it sounds really nice. Okay.
No, and John, you and I are going to have words if you keep misbehaving like that. Why are you trying to make my life harder, man? That's not cool.
I don't get it, but okay. Cool.
He just let's like...
Play that piece.
I think that's what he was referring to, but I don't know. So
probably, yeah.
All right, I'll see you, man. Have a
right.
happy holidays.
Yeah, happy holidays. Thanks, Chris.
All right.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.